Ben Affleck's new movie about the signing of Michael Jordan to Nike.
I'm Michael Jordan.
Starring not Michael Jordan, but none other than Matt Damon.
That's why we're all here.
Did it actually work not having his airness in the movie? Feel free to like and subscribe, and let's find out.
Jordan, look out, running. Oh my goodness.
Air tells the story of Michael Jordan back in 1984, leaving North Carolina as a rookie to Chicago, being signed to Nike by marketing executive Sonny Vaccaro, of course played by Matt Damon.
Air Jordan.
Directed by Ben Affleck, also starring Affleck as Nike CEO Philip K. Knight. In terms of what I liked about it, first and foremost, this movie encapsulated the aura of 1984. 1984 being a very specific time in terms of Western culture, American pop culture in general, and specifically the NBA draft, where as we know now, not only Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, John Stockton were all drafted to the NBA during that summer. This movie manages to really capture the feel, both in terms of America at the time and in terms of the sports tempo of the time. That was basically what I liked about it. Of course, this is not an action film. This is about corporate guys in offices talking, attempting to seal the deal back in '84. So the question is, did they pull off an entertaining film about Michael Jordan where it's a bunch of white suits in the office? I'll probably say they did. Well, not probably, I will say that they did. Matt Damon's energy, Matt Damon's presence, a return of seeing Damon on screen with Affleck. Obviously, I've recently made a video about Good Will Hunting. Those two are a collaboration we should have seen more of.
Brother, I don't know what you're doing. I'm willing to bet my career on Michael Jordan. Come on.
Jeff oh man.
The other things I liked about it, of course, Viola Davis, or Viola as Dolores Jordan, Michael Jordan's mother.
Ask me why I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Why are you in Wilmington, North Carolina?
I didn't know what to expect going into this. I'd seen Ben Affleck do a few interviews about Michael Jordan himself insisted that Viola Davis play Dolores Jordan.
He said, Viola Davis is going to be my mother.
A working class black woman from a particular period in time, really dedicating herself to her son, to her offspring's future. So Viola Davis, I'm going to say she's a candidate for Best Supporting Actress in the next Oscars. That's how I feel about her performance in this film. The greatest strengths of the movie are Matt Damon and Viola Davis.
By Jordan, who has it on the break, driving all the way in. Oh, God, an unbelievable ball!
Michael Jordan is the man who took Nike by storm and made the sport of basketball global.
Seconds left. This may be like the other night where the last team to have it. Jordan!
They'll work their plays. Steal. He kept it in bounds. Here it is again.
A movie about somebody that's so great that doesn't show him. You need to understand the guy's greatness. This guy is considered arguably the most competitive athlete of all time.
Low right, short double up, outside pass deflected by Jordan, the ball loose, Theus gets it. Theus on a dribble off to the right, takes it in, and Jordan steals the ball. Here's Michael Jordan on the drive, in on Joe Klein, all the way to the hoop, scoops and
We're down to 2, now to 1. Here's Jordan. Yes! Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move by Jordan!
When you're thinking of super duper all-time greats, it's like Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Pele, Babe Ruth. And now, a lot of people might think within that group of four, Michael Jordan's probably at the highest. He came into the NBA with his shoes, with the Air Jordans, took it by storm. Different type of highly athletic playing, the majestic aesthetics of his play, the shoes, the dunking.
It's a bounce pass to Jordan, under he comes.
The layups.
Look, it's Michael Jordan around everybody.
Not to mention all his stats on the court. We're talking about the man who won a Defensive Player of the Year award and a scoring title in the same season. This guy was a different level of beast. In terms of the reunification of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck together on screen, I'm just going to say this really quickly. The 90s was a very interesting time. You had established celebrities from the 80s and before that, and you had the new kids on the block, so to speak, not the literal band, but the Gen X people coming through.
And everybody back in Boston watching us.
Good Will Hunting came out in 97, 98, during the time when Michael Jordan was in the Last Dance season.
If that's the last image of Michael Jordan, how magnificent is it?
So for me, it's like there is a parallel, there is a paradox of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon reuniting and doing a movie about Michael Jordan coming through in '84, because he was still, from '84 to '98, that was his tenure at the Bulls, and he was still winning his 6th title, Finals MVP, regular season MVP, All-Star MVP, scoring title in that year, in that 97-98 year that Good Will Hunting came out. So that's the significance. Aside from that, just seeing those two, I'm like, these two guys are like the Scorsese and De Niro of the Gen X. So my thing is, why haven't these guys done more collaborations? So of course it's just good to see them, regardless of any parallels you want to draw with Michael Jordan. In terms of the slight flaws, well, by definition, it was a movie about Michael Jordan, not starring Michael Jordan. So it was always going to be lacking in terms of a physical sports movie. Yeah, this is an office corporate sports movie. There was a few things where they changed details, but Ben Affleck, he alluded to that in the interviews anyway. So I'm not going to spoil much, but they slightly adjusted Jordan's age for one thing. I don't want to say what it is. There was a reference to established superstar Moses Malone, that he's a party guy, and it's allegorical. They're trying to make the point that a lot of the athletes in the NBA in '84 were partying too much and they weren't dedicated to the game. Jordan came in and changed that all. So they said that Moses Malone parties too much, but as far as I know, this is a super nitpick, by the way, this is minor, but I know Moses Malone is the guy who kicked Barkley's ass in Barkley's also '84 rookie year. Barkley was a fat guy who wanted to party and eat pizzas. Malone told him, cut that out.
Moses Malone, one of the NBA's hardest workers.
Charles wanted to be great, but he didn't want to work at it.
So these are so tiny that only an NBA sports fan would pick up on. The flaws, mate, before you see it, the flaw is the flaw. It's a movie about Michael Jordan not starring Michael Jordan. So other than that, there were no major faults with it. It's the basketball equivalent of Jerry Maguire. How good they make it is how good the dialogue is, how good scenes are of corporate guys sitting around saying, we've got to sign him. We've never done this before. We've never done this deal before. That's basically, it was that type of movie. So by definition, there's a slight disappointment on, I want to see a dude jump in the air like Michael Jordan, but you're not going to get that.
Jordan, look out, running. Oh my goodness.
It's a movie about the greatest athlete minus the athletics. The no Jordan depiction, again, I'd seen the interviews from the All-Star game of Ben Affleck and saying, the second we put someone who isn't Jordan and tell the audience that's Jordan, the audience switches off. Fundamentally, I am in agreement with that. So my thing was not, they should have casted this one or that one as Jordan. My only thing was, how's the movie then going to work?
If you really look at Jordan, like I did, you're going to see exactly what I see.
Which is what?
To Jordan, sprigs out on him, good coverage defensively, he still hit it. Oh, what presence of mind.
They done the best job they could possibly do not having Michael Jordan in it. That's what I will say. Overall, the decision not to have Jordan worked. The only other things I can think of is Ali, starring Will Smith as Muhammad Ali. And I'll be honest, I never watched that film. Maybe it was my own narrow-mindedness. I just felt like, that's Will Smith, that's not Muhammad Ali. But I haven't watched it. I haven't seen the performance. The other one, which is more recent, is the HBO TV show Winning Time, about the Lakers, the Showtime Lakers. I can't remember the actor's name, but they had a dude playing Magic Johnson. For me, they just about pulled off having that actor play Magic Johnson. That actor was likable. Magic Johnson is iconic.
Magic is straight down the middle. Still going.
But you've got to remember, he is the greatest point guard, more than likely, of all time. But he's not Michael Jordan. In terms of the overall finished product of the movie, that is Air. Ben Affleck's kind of final product, it's a nice product. It's had a killer soundtrack. The way it was shot, the way it was filmed, its tempo's not too dissimilar from the film Argo that he done back in 2012. The ensemble cast, from, was it Marlon Wayans to obviously Chris Tucker, I think Ben Affleck should be proud. Again, this isn't a mega budget film, but that's the whole point. And again, Matt Damon is the man who has been going on and on for a few years now about the dissolution of the mid-level budget movie.
DVD was a huge part of our business. The movies that we used to make, you could afford to not make all of your money when it played in the theater. Technology has just made that obsolete.
$20 to $30 million budget film that we don't see anymore. Apparently the budget of Air was $30 million. So these guys pulled off having a $30 million budget movie. There's not a bunch of CGI special effects. It's a bunch of middle-aged white guys sitting in offices, sealing the deal, but they pulled it off because it was filmed well, looks good, great soundtrack. That must have taken a lot of the budget for the bloody soundtrack. God bless Ben Affleck and God bless Matt Damon.
Fuck you. You're the shepherd.
Damon is an underrated gem who is part of the Hollywood studio machine.
Fuck you. You're the shepherd.
The irony, this is an Amazon Studios movie, but they've managed to pull off whatever deal they've managed to pull off to say, hey, anyone who has Amazon Prime is going to stream it, but it's going to be exclusive to theaters first. In terms of how this ranks with some of the best basketball movies of all time, it's different. Again, it's the Jerry Maguire of the basketball genre. In the 90s, I saw so many of the basketball films, Above the Rim, whatever, but for me, it's always going to be White Men Can't Jump in the early 90s and He Got Game by Spike Lee in the late 90s. So Air is a great addition to that company, but it's going to be very difficult to usurp those two movies. And I'll get straight to it. It was good, not great, but it was really good. There's a solid 7.2. I'll give it a 7.2. I think Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have really pulled something off. Great ensemble cast. Viola Davis again as Dolores Jordan. She was an absolute sweetheart in that performance. Absolutely great in terms of bringing back the mid-budget movie to the theaters. That was the greatness of the film. I hope you go and see this movie in the cinema. Don't wait for it to come out on Prime. If you've made it this far, like I always say, thank you very much. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.